Hello my dear friends, today I will speak about Florence. This amazing Italian city, the capital of the Tuscany region, is located on the hills along the banks of the Arno River. This is one of the main tourist centers in Europe, which is located among the Tuscan hills at a considerable distance from the seacoast. Florence is one of the most significant and famous cultural centers of the European continent. The city is called the cradle of the Renaissance. Florence gave the world such giants of thought and art as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Donatello, Dante, Galileo. Florence founded in 59 BC by a Roman veteran. Former soldiers named the new settlement Florentia, which translates as blooming. By the 1st century, the settlement had become a city and the seat of a bishop. The Renaissance of the city began in the 10th century and at the beginning of the 12th century. Florence became an independent commune. In the 11th to 12th century, the baptistery and the church of San Miniato were built. In the 13th century, the main cathedral of Florence, Santa Maria del Fiore, was built. The main attraction and distinct, most recognizable symbol of Florence, the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, or simply the Duomo. This beautiful and imposing cathedral is decorated with pink, white and green marble in the Gothic style. The Duomo is built on the site where once stood the ancient cathedral of Florence, Santa Reparata, the remains of which are visible in the crypt. The construction of the cathedral was started in the late 13th century. The architect was Arnolfo di Cambio. The beautiful dome was completed in the 15th century. The architect was Filippo Brunelleschi, who won a competition for its construction in 1418. The Basilica of Santa Croce was built for the Franciscan order in 1294 by Arnolfo di Cambio. It contains the legendary sons of the city, Michelangelo, Machiavelli and Galileo Galilei, who was never baptized. There is also a tomb of Dante, but it is empty. The facade of the church is made of multicolored marble. Inside, you can admire the frescoes of Gaudi. In the main chapel, beautiful frescoes by Giotto and other masters. Also, don't miss the tomb of the Italian playwright Giovanni Battista Nicolini, to the left of the entrance, which inspired the author of the Statue of Liberty monument. The Palazzo Vecchio is the main building on the Piazza della Signoria, designed by the famous Italian architect Arnolfo di Cambio. The palace has been the center of political life in Florence for many years. Today, it is one of the symbols of the city and one of its most visited attractions. Built at the turn of the 14th century, the Vecchio Palace is a classical example of a medieval fortress palace. Similar structures are found in many places in Florence today. The powerful structure was designed to protect its famous residents in the event of an enemy attack. This also applies to architecture. It is simple and concise. If you look at the structure from above, it has the shape of the rectangle. The Astor building is almost devoid of decoration. Barely noticeable cornices divide its array into 3 parts. The top of the Palazzo Vecchio is crowned with battlements, making it even more like an impregnable fortress. The same technique is repeated on the tower that rises above the main building. The crenellated crown is attached to the building by arched spans. Today the opening contains the coats of arms of 9 Florentine guilds, but initially they had utilitarian purpose. In the event of a siege, stones were thrown from them and hot steam poured down on the heads of the besiegers. In contrast to the architecture, the interior of the Palazzo Vecchio is striking. Looking at the harsh building, it is difficult to imagine the luxury and wealth that are hidden inside. The best masters of the time, Giorgio Vasari, Bernardo Bantalenti, Simon del Pollaio, worked on the interior of the palace. It is adorned by Michelangelo, Botticelli, Donatello, Giambologna, Bandinelli, Giraldano. In general, the simplicity of the walls of the Palazzo Vecchio hides a real treasury of world masterpieces of painting and sculpture. The Ponte Vecchio is the eternal symbol of Florence. Once the only bridge over the Arno River was built in 1218. Damaged after a severe flood, it was rebuilt in 1345. The bridge survived the floods, the Second World War. The Nazis destroyed all the bridges except this one, and became one of the most popular and famous places in the capital of Tuscany. Republic Square has been one of the main squares in Florence Roman times. The modern rectangular shape with luxurious building of the 19th century is a result of urban modernization when Florence was the capital of Italy. Unfortunately, the old walls of the 13th century that surrounded the city were demolished. In the center of the square is an impressive column that marks the place where the ancient Roman Forum was. Michelangelo Square offers a beautiful panoramic view of Florence and the Arno, and is certainly highly recommended to visit. The square was designed in 1869 by the Florentine architect Giuseppe Poggi. The Piazza del Duomo, or Cathedral Square, is located in the historic center of the Italian city of Florence, on the north bank of the Arno River. There are many historical and cultural attractions in and around the Piazza del Duomo, making it one of the most visited places in Florence. The beautiful ancient buildings of the Piazza del Duomo play a unique role in the history of the city, which gave the world such geniuses as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Donatello, Niccolo Machiavelli, Dante, Galileo, and became the spiritual center of the Renaissance. Among the buildings in the main square of Florence are the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, the bell tower of Giotto, the baptistry and other historical buildings. Part of the square on the west side has its own name, the Square of San Giovanni. Next to Santa Maria del Fiore is the oldest building in the city, mentioned in chronicle from the 9th century, the baptistry of St. John. For more than 1,000 years, it has been the spiritual center of Florence. The baptistry was built in honor of John the Baptist, the patron saint of Florence. The interior of the church is dominated by images of antiquity, but the doors that later appeared in the baptistry became its most famous attraction. The door or portal of the baptistry are decorated with priceless panels created by Andrea Pisano and Florence Ghiberti, based on biblical themes. The stillen Byzantine mosaic of the baptistry of the 13th century is also worthy of attention. If you ever go to Italy, visit this amazing city, Florence. You will not regret it. And this is the end of my story about Florence. Maxim Fadеев was with you. See you soon.